Good evening. You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rom. I have from the Great Midwest RDV. Tonight we're going to be tackling Gerard Butler's Plane. And RDV, I got to say, I'm a little impressed by this movie because it was one of those Netflix come and go type films wherever it was playing. We're like, oh, there's a Gerard Butler movie. Really? Is it new? Well, I've never heard of it. Let's watch it. Let's review it. Okay, and here we are. The reason why I say that is because Gerard Butler is one of those names that we really love him as an action star, but he appeals to both sexes, which I think is really and puts him in rarefied air actually because the women love him from Phantom of the Opera and other crap that you and I will not cover as being heterosexual males, but we do like him as an action star too. And of course, 300 immediately comes to mind. The insert whatever has fallen stuff is great, and of course, Law Abiding Citizen, the greatest movie with the worst ending of all time. Hopefully, they'll rectify it in his career. But Plane is about a story about him getting to be his natural Scottish self and being a plane captain and being a brave one at that, responsible for his crew, not letting any of that stuff go to hell when they crash land. And, we've all seen plane movies. We kind of know what to expect and we kind of know what to get. This has a little bit of a hostage kind of terrorist thing to it or like that. But you know what? On paper, it doesn't sound great, but in execution, it's actually pretty good. I enjoyed it a bit more than I thought. And instead of just having it on and listening to it and checking it out, I was actually actively watching it. So I like this film and I was surprised
Yep.
by it. And we'll talk a little bit more about some pluses and minuses here in a moment. But what's your initial take?
When I first saw this, his last movie, I think it was a submarine movie. I think
Okay.
it was called Hunter. I think it was low budget, but I liked it.
Hmm.
Commander of a naval sub. It's kind of a rogue commander. He does what needs to be done to save his own crew. Damn the government, kind of like a Top Gun thing.
Yeah.
I'll do what I need to do, and that's kind of the roles that Gerard Butler has been cast in. Like he's kind of like he's the action star of the B movies, which sucks because if you give him he's proven a chance with Olympus Has Fallen, Angels Fallen was the last one, he's proved that he can be an action star, but for some reason Hollywood does not want to do action movies.
Yeah, and you know what? Let me pause you there for a moment because this is something I was going to bring up, and I think you just nailed it on the head. And I think that really made me think about this a lot in the movie too. Now, like I say, I've always said, and I've predicated on here, and it's not to show anybody's opinions about things. I'm not the biggest Marvel DC fan, and I'm not a fan of CGI in general. All right. Um, do you consider Marvel films action films?
Not really. I mean,
Okay. Do you
they're
think
fantasy.
that, you think?
They're more fantasy movies. They're not action in the sense of we like missing in action or Rambo or Demolition Man. Those are action movies. Marvel movies are just big comedies with the actually have action in it,
Mhm.
but not the action that we want. It's more of the PG stuff.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because it just occurred to me that the fact that I don't really catch a lot of them all there, and I know there's superpowers and fights and battles and boss things and all that stuff. It seems like a lot of the action stuff really is the quick cuts and the everybody can run a cycle and gain 20 pounds and act like they're an action star just because supposedly they look like the role, which is rule number one. You got to look the part. And two, I don't think it really works for most of them. So when we get someone like Gerard Butler in here that we believe when he's standing there saying hi to the people coming on the plane and he's talking to the ladies, okay, let's have a good flight here and all that. And I popped really hard because he's holding the cup of coffee or whatever like that. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
he's just so damn casual. It was a nice little thing to it. And he plays it low key. He doesn't play it hardcore intense like Law Abiding Citizen. And I like that. And I also like the fact that his Asian co-pilot there is a younger guy. And of course they have the male bonding scene about, families and talking and all that
yeah,
sort of stuff. Which whatever. But I like the fact that they had a younger person that this older person can be a positive role model for. I
yeah.
don't know if that was something that stood out to you.
Yeah, well, it really helps set the emotions of characters. Because otherwise, if they would have just crashed, we didn't really know anything backstory about the characters. It really gives you something that, because this stuff that does happen. People do get stranded, and of course, they crash. Somewhere they land near the Philippines, the part where even the government doesn't go. There are places like this. Well, we've seen with movies like Rambo, or they're in Burma, the missionaries. These are ruthless people. They don't care. And like I said, there's a the fact that even if you survive a plane crash, the chances of being rescued, if you even land safely, is it's not really that great.
Right.
Now we put terrorists, or nobody not terrorists, but we call the bad guys with guns, who basically just want to behead Americans or whatever country they're from. They use them to make money
Yeah,
because
they're
they're
just an
poor,
asset. That's all.
because nobody wants to deal with them. So you throw them in there now, and then you got these people. You're like, you see, like the one, you got two people that die right away in the plane. One is the federal agent that's escorting Mike Coulter, who is a convict that was on the run that they captured, and he's forced to be on the flight with them. And then the other one was a stewardess. You just see her in the turbulence. She flies up, hits the ceiling, smacks back down on the armrest of the seat, and just snaps her neck, and dies.
Yeah. I thought that was like always called an effective use of violence, because I certainly don't mind gore, but gore for gore's sake is not really anything. I mean, you can be gonzo if that's a part of what you are, but when that started happening and this whole going through the storm bit, yes, it's CGI. I know I'm not a fan of it, but I actually thought this was done pretty well. So I thought, okay, this tone started to strike me as, hey, maybe they're taking this a bit serious, because this isn't a movie that just got filmed. It's been gone for a couple of years, and it's bounced around, and it just came out. So I had never even heard of it, but I guess it was just in limbo, waiting for whoever decided to buy the rights to it, whatever, to release it. Because once that happened and she died, I'm like, okay, they're not screwing around here.
They're setting the scene. Now there's emotional trauma, and now it's like so what's left is basically a couple of passengers. The few passengers that came on, because it's supposed to be New Year's when it takes place. They're leaving Singapore, I think it is, or I forget where they're leaving.
Yes, they're leaving Singapore. Yep.
And they end up, because they get struck by lightning, they lose power, enough battery juice to land the plane, and either fly with no radar, blind, and they manage to set the plane down. So they only have a few crew left. Or not, as far as crew and people on there, there was hardly anybody on the plane because it was New Year's. And right away, I'm thinking like, okay, now they're on here. Now shit's gonna get real, because now they don't know where they are, and if they landed, we're told by now. We go back to the plane company. The company owns a plane. They're panicking because, oh fuck, this is bad, because it makes they don't want to look bad. They also want to rescue these people. They have no idea what's going on.
And it seemed like they didn't even care about the people at all.
Exactly. And I love the fact they brought in Tony Goldwyn.
Yes, this crisis manager, or third-party person that they hired. This guy was very strong, and I was not expecting this as an angle, and I'm really surprised, because it demonstrates just how little corporations care for the individual person.
Yes. And what really blew my mind, because I was like, I know this guy. Oh, he's the bad guy from Ghost who killed Patrick Swayze.
Oh, okay. He's just matured now. Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. He's also been on The Last House on the Left, was his other horror movie he did.
Yep.
Yeah. But his big role was Ghost. I was like, he was Patrick Swayze's best friend. I was like, oh, that guy really? But anyway, Mike Coulter really stood out too. Most people know Mike Coulter who watched the Netflix show Luke Cage. Mike Coulter proved that he can do action.
He's Mike Cage? I didn't see it, but that's him? Or Luke Cage, I mean?
Luke Cage, yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And this, he just looks a little different because, he's not wearing the yellow hoodie. But, he stood out pretty well along with Gerard Butler. Gerard Butler, served in the Royal Air Force, but he was never a ground unit. So he has some training. He knows how to hotwire radios. You see that, or at least not radios, but hotwire telephone. Wires get so you can get the rhythmic call, and that scene was done pretty well, dude. Actually, when he gets in there and he's given he left his badge, because the first thing you do if you're in a hostile thing, you don't want to be identified as the captain.
Yes.
You just want to kind of blend in. You have a better chance of surviving. And because he left his badge number there, and he's panicking. He can't remember. He finally makes contact, calls the place, and identifies himself. I am Brody Torrance. I'm the captain of so and so. You're like, sir, we've had so many prank calls, and then lady just hangs up on him.
Yeah.
And then so he finally eats one more chance. He calls his daughter. And this is talk about emotional attachments. It's just him and his daughter. They've grown kind of parted away. She went to college. His wife died. And it's just like he's just trying to. Basically, he tells her, I think we know where we are here, and tells her what to do, and then you see immediately right after this, you see him get attacked by one of the goons with a gun,
Hmm.
and they're struggling, they're fighting. It's this, and he has to like kill somebody, and you see it. This is a guy who's never killed before, because you're Air Force doesn't mean you've actually gone hand to hand ground combat and killed people.
Right.
Mike Coulter, we learned his character was actually in the Legionnaires, the French Legionnaires, served with them, became a mercenary, after that, and that's why he's kind of wanted for by the feds for his crimes.
And it starts off where, like, you think the guy's going to be like, oh, he's got to worry about the bad guy that they're escorting, but he ends up being an ally. You know what I'm saying? That was good.
Yeah, because we've seen it before. Oh, now we got this. It'd be like, oh, if Batman went in a crew of people landed on crash landed, now he has to deal with the Joker. No, it's not that shit. None of that crap. There's no villain. The only villain is, I believe it. I was trying to figure out who the main villain is in this, because he looked like one of the dudes from the 300. Actually,
he could have been. I mean,
Evan Dane Taylor. I think that's a guy who plays Bellamy on the 100.
I would not know.
No, he's a Jessica Jones in the Logan. I don't think maybe he wasn't 100. I don't know. Regardless, though, this actor is phenomenal as being the bad guy. He's the main, I guess you'd call it the cartel, whatever, leader, and he's just ruthless. Like I said, going all the way through this, I love the casting here. We get a little rescue mission because they are thanks to the co-pilot. Yosan An, his character's name is Samuel. He's able to go underneath and basically reroute power, and so they can turn on their transponder, so they can track them. So because under Tony Goldwyn's, the actor, under his character's thing, his name is Scarsdale, he tells him, "Hey, company, we're gonna send a rescue team." He's like, "I don't care anymore. You're gonna sign this check here. We're gonna get to these guys and let them know these are a group of like ex Navy SEALs and other."
He's a guy that knows how to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Pay me the money. Shut up. This is reality. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So he basically he says, we're gonna do this. We're gonna send the guys in, and then half now, and you get the rest later. So they're going in. I'm thinking like, oh man, are these guys gonna get wiped out? Because we always see that when like the good guys go in, but they're not the main good guys. So I'm like, oh, you're gonna see this get blown away, and it's gonna be up to like Gerard Butler and Mike Coulter to save the day. But no, that's not what happens. All the way through, this was your typical 80s action movie done in the year now, 2023, 2022, with some CG. For the most part, though, they had the proper feel like Delta Force going in, kind of like a sense.
Yeah.
Without Chuck Norris.
Rescue type film, action oriented, but because you get the gunfights and you get the bandits. I gotta say this about the bandits. You can always talk about having a strong enemy, and you're only as good as the weakest or the strongest bad person, right? And all that. But this is different in that I think we're supposed to understand that we're not supposed to know who they are. They're not supposed to look familiar. They're supposed to look a little wild and savage and gangs. So what are they going to do? Any chance they get, especially white meat, even though this is an international crew, they're going to do what they can to get money because it's an asset. And in poor countries, those things happen. And they demonstrated early on by shooting some people and stuff. And it was fairly realistic, and I know sometimes people get triggered by, or countries may get
the camera
not in agreement by how things happen. But you were totally right at the beginning when you said there's places over there where those things happen, because they do, and they are, and it's like that around the world in places. There's still cannibal tribes out there and stuff. I know people personally that have been to certain places in Asia, and we've had these conversations over the decades about, it's interesting how the whole world's kind of connected, but when you still think about certain things, there's still a lot of people that don't have cell phones or live on $10 or less a day, and so it's just amazing with how connected we are, being able to talk right now thousands of miles away, that we people, oh, there's no way that could possibly still exist, and it does. And I think this movie did a good job of making you feel like they're on a deserted island and like, holy shit, what are we going to do? We got to act quick. We got to do this. We got to do that.
Like if you ever played the game Far Cry.
Yeah, Far Cry. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like the first one, not all the crap from
the very first one.
Yes.
You're on the island and you're just trying to figure out where you are, and you got people coming after you, and you're on your own, and then you get a gun. And you're like, no, it's kind of like the John McClane thing. Now I have a machine gun. Ho ho ho. As you go along. And I was actually kind of surprised. I thought the Gerard Butler would be more of a badass, because he usually does. But if you think about it, that makes perfect sense for being a captain. He's in the Air Force. They don't exactly see combat. The only combat they see is if they're dropping bombs or if they're in a dogfight.
He he was professional, but you could tell he wasn't used to that,
No,
which I liked. You know, not that
you're
he screwed
trained.
up.
You're trained how to defend yourself. Every
Yeah,
soldier is, but they don't. My brother, he's not a pilot, but he's trained to work on the planes. But he's also trained to defend himself and kill.
yeah,
But you can tell that Gerard Butler, has never killed anybody before. And it just you can get like a little comfort by him, from Mike Coulter. He's like, oh, it's your first time, don't worry. It's like it's either you or him, right?
yeah. One thing I want to bring up too about the movie, because obviously it has a happy ending and it resolves well and everything too. Even though you're pretty used to seeing this kind of film, we don't get them often, to your point. But I've noticed a lot, and I want to make this comment, kind of crossing over with what we recently talked about last Sunday, which was Cocaine Bear here on the Extreme Movie Show with Professor Pixel, also from Central Florida, like myself. And in that movie, they actually had somebody who had his first acting gig that was like a social media influencer, some dude, I forget his name, Scott Says or something, whatever.
Yeah.
And his statement was on social media, which is brilliant marketing on their point. Hey, what do you need to know about to see Cocaine Bear? Absolutely nothing. And I noticed a lot of films too. Of course, now you see that somebody that's a side character, what is their role? Social media influencer or an influencer or something like that. And it's cool that like you can on YouTube make money and be successful and call it a career, no matter whether we joke about it. It is a thing and it's legit and it's open doors for people that might not be able to do it. But bro, when we got Gerard Butler and we got an action film, it's almost, I hate to say it, because while I certainly appreciate it and like it, there were some social media passengers on there, and I'm staring at this one chick. I'm like, man, this chick is smoking hot. And it was like distracting, because like every time the group would get together, you're like, hey, where's that chick at? Is she gonna die? What's going on?
Come up.
And it's like they made her a main character or anything like that. And what I didn't know either, and this is probably the only criticism of the film I'd have, is we did see a few people die early on the film, or on the plane and early in the film, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure, okay, who's safe and who isn't. And so that maybe that was supposed to add to the suspense, but I also felt I didn't really know much of him too well, so I didn't really care. I wasn't emotionally invested. So even though he's trying to protect them and save him, I was like, yeah, save yourself. I mean, who gives a rat's ass? I wasn't sure what was going to happen with that, but they chose to focus more on the action and the other stuff. So was it a big deal? I don't think so. It was just kind of just sort of there. So it wasn't bad, but that's the danger you have when you introduce all that. But of course, you get the standard when they land the plane after they get out of it, or like that, everybody kind of claps or whatever. Like, and sometimes people would do that. I've been on plane flights or even international ones where we've had stormy weather, and you land, everybody, claps or whatever like that, and it's pleasant. The flying experience has changed so dramatically since 9/11, 20 plus years ago. It doesn't resemble what it used to be, and that reminded me of the old days of flying.
Yeah, the girl you're referring to is Kelly Gale, is Instagram model. So
Yes.
Instagram model. She was on here along with Brie, I believe it's Brie Taylor. No, Lily Krug. I can't remember which one was the daughter, but there was two girls on there. I think they were just coming back, and they're on the plane, and they're gonna take a photo of each other for Instagram.
Yeah.
And Mike Coulter, who's back in the back of the plane, says, "Can you not take the photo?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they kind of like giggled, kind of like, okay. So we have two girls in there. It's like for the I guess for the millennial and the Zoomer, I guess, connection. But
exactly.
I want to talk about Paul Ben Victor, the actor who has been known for. Have you ever watched the show back in 2000? It was called The Invisible Man.
No.
Okay, he was the cop on there that was actually working with the main guy.
Okay.
But he plays Terry in this. He's the guy in charge of the company. He's the dick.
Okay.
He wanted basically to let everybody die, or he didn't care, or just wanted to keep it hush.
He did a cost-benefit analysis,
yes.
including everything, and said, okay, this is what has to happen.
Yeah, so this guy was also in Maximum Risk. He's in there too, with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh,
so
okay.
So he's been in a few different movies, TV series, so. But anyway, so yeah, he's also on NYPD Blue. But so we had some not big name, but we had some. I'd say the big names were Gerard Butler, Mike Coulter, and Danielle Pineda.
Yeah.
Danielle Pineda is she's recently was just in Jurassic World, the last Jurassic World movie. She's been in the one before that. She also was in the failed Netflix a live adaptation of Cowboy Bebop. And I just kept thinking, man, this girl's making money. Can you at least fix a gap in your teeth?
Oh, come on. Where's this coming from? What's
No,
the?
no, because the funny thing is that this reminds me. There was another singer named Becky G who had a gap, and then after she made money, she filled the gap in her teeth. She got rid of it.
Why does this bother you? It's
Because
cute.
it sticks right up to me. But no, I want to talk about more than just her teeth. Okay, now she's like the head thing. As far as like the stewardess.
Right.
And obviously she's friends with the main character.
No, they're all fighting which one's going to bone the pilot.
Dude, I honestly thought they were gonna make her a little
main
bit
character.
or even have her pick up a gun, and be a little bit of badass a little bit.
I really thought so too.
But they didn't, which is they like subverted my expectations, which is great because I don't need to have a woman or even a strong female. I mean, females don't. No, here, she was okay. No, I'm not gonna say she wasn't a strong female. But but she was the kind of she didn't need a gun. She didn't need to prove it. We saw her through other things. The way she handled the character, handled the
yeah, she was actively engaged in a role that was important by
she
dealing with the people that were there. Yeah.
She kept her cool and stuff. I thought at the end she would have got with Gerard Butler and spend time with him and his daughter. No,
Uh-huh.
or because it was like New Year's, whatever. I don't know if she had family, but because they never mentioned she had family. She was one of the things. So, but overall, I thought it was actually a really good movie, and this is a movie that we like. This is basically what I missed. These are the straight up action movies. Something happens, and you need someone to fix it. And literally, it's like now. The reason I say I'm shocked that this movie even happened because this really feels like if you went into like those movies back in the day, like we talked about with Louis Gossett Jr., Iron Eagle. Where the bad guys, they're not white, they're
right.
a different country, they're bad terrorists, I'm surprised this movie wasn't canceled,
because it's interesting, but it's Gerard Butler, so I think that had enough weight behind it. He was also, I think, a producer on it, so that carries some cachet as well.
But overall, I want more Gerard Butler, Mike Coulter teaming up, or even Mike Coulter just having his own action movies too. Same with Gerard Butler. Both these guys are being slept on as far as their acting ability. It just sucks because I just learned today Isaiah Washington quit acting because he just can't stand it. Very popular actor. He said the only roles they want to get to me are basically the woke, black roles. And it's like I just want an actual good role. Quit stereotyping me into roles because of my color of my skin. So he said I'm done with Hollywood and I'm done acting. It kind of sucks. I mean, because once all the good actors leave, or die off, what are we left with?
Nothing. Yeah.
We've been saying movies have been dying. It's just the movies we like are dying. Movies will always be around because there'll always be people who buy into what being spoon fed. Like I said, these Marvel movies, these DC movies, I don't think they're ever going to stop.
They'll continue as long as they make money, but they've been here long enough where there needs to be a new paradigm with movie making. And I've always suggested the micro budget ones are the way to go, but that's just my philosophy on it. These big tempo ones they have problems with.
So this movie is a perfect example that you don't need a huge budget. You could actually get by with it. I think the budget was it made the box office was $50 million. This is through Lionsgate at a budget $25 million, so it made more than twice as much. I really hope that they continue to do this. Like I said, Gerard Butler, do not sleep on him as far as his roles and stuff, his movies. I hope to see him in more stuff. I just want more action movies because with there's only 2 movies left as far as for Tom Cruise, and he's done with that character, Mission Impossible. And that to me, that's why I think that's where we're going to see the death of action movies.
We'll see.
I don't want these comedy, like Violent Nights. Santa Claus. I don't care about Santa Claus having a gun. It's been done before. We had Mel Gibson. Like, I mean, do we really need to keep Santa Claus now versus a bunch of the elves are revolting. It's like I want to see anything like that.
This year, we may talk about how disturbing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is, the Rankin Bass production there, and the Island Misfit toys, and all the themes that are in it, because it is when you really look at it through different eyes. But
They should
that's
just
your
redo
point.
that. It's called Cocaine Rudolph.
On that note, any other final thoughts?
Final thoughts, man. You can go see this movie. It's still in theaters. It's available on Vudu for rent. I think through Fandango. You
Mhm.
can you can own it early. I haven't seen it on DVD yet. I've been looking for it. So
Yeah, again, above average movie. I liked it a lot. I think we're both in agreement with that. It's definitely worth watching. Even if you're just an action fan or an '80s action fan, Gerard Butler fan, any of those boxes that sound intriguing at all, I think you'll definitely like this movie. Again, it was a bit of a surprise. I enjoyed it. I'm glad it was there. It was one of the first movies I saw this year, and I said, "Hey, it's a nice way to start." Between that, Megan, it was a good weekend.
it's supposed to come out today, March 28th. Apparently, for the Wikipedia.
February 28th. It's
Oh
today.
no. Oh yeah, March 28th. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, so in a month. Yeah, they're going to milk that out a little bit more too. All right, guys. Plane, Gerard Butler, 2023. Check it out. It's definitely worth the trip. All right, I'm your host, Rob. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching, listening. Thanks for letting everybody else know that we're on, especially the newer listeners and the engagement. That's really helped us out here. We're close to 1,000. We promised ourselves once we got to that magical threshold of actually being mildly something on YouTube.
Yeah. Also,
we're going
thoughts
to
and prayers
increase the
out to
output.
Tom. Thoughts and prayers out to Tom Sizemore and his family.
Yeah, well, we may do a Tom Sizemore movie on Sunday, because he'll probably pass by then. But we'll see what happens on that note too. So the retrospective may be in order. All right, guys, for RDV and everybody involved here at the Xtreme Move Show, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Remember, as always, stay extreme.